Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show special Monday morning edition. I'm going to be bringing these to you live 8:30 every morning as we get into the spring. And thank you, YouTube. And we've got Miguel here saying, love it, let the greed burn. Have another cup of coffee. Um, Cato, bring it, baby, bring it. We're going to talk about, just going to breeze through the numbers this morning very quickly. And then we're going to talk about the Airbnb, the state of Airbnbs in the state. Very interesting and predictable. But for right now, if you look at the 7-day moving average, new listings have dropped and contracts have dropped. Some of that may simply just be because this is a 7-day moving average that there just isn't a whole lot of house buying going on during the Super Bowl weekend. And but then we look at actual contracts here, accepted contracts, they're showing a dip as well. Nothing major from, let's see, 2015 to 1,988. So there's a little bit of a slowdown going on, and it's all rate driven. Good morning, Betta, out there. Probably it's good evening. And Jackie, all the favorites are back here today. The market has kind of hit a little bit of a stall here while we have interest rates hovering around 6.5. And they're going to kind of hover there today. Tomorrow is going to be very important. Tomorrow we have the new CPI report. If inflation exceeds expectations and isn't coming down as much as everybody hopes to, rates could get ugly. If it comes down and takes everybody by surprise and look like it's improving, then rates will go the other way. So who knows? I mean, I've already lost my dollar trying to predict this stuff. So the Crawford Market Index here is still showing strength, though, and this is just based on simple supply and demand. And right now we have supply is up considerably, but we're only sitting here at 15,600, but it's up compared to last year where we were sitting at 4,800. So that's where you get these wild headlines in YouTube. You know, inventory's up 800%. I hope so. So that's what we're seeing. But here's what's going on in the Airbnb business. Check this out. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago and I asked the question, do you think we have a saturation in the Airbnb market in short-term rentals? Turns out we do. A manager of 95 Phoenix Airbnbs is stunned that half his homes are empty over Super Bowl weekend. Is it the latest Airbnb bust? Well, I remember Tina Tambour from the Crawford Report at a meeting once. She said, be careful. This Airbnb business is short-term rentals. That means you have to be an expert in real estate and tourism. And tourism's hard to predict. And what's happened is it's saying here that it's not just Phoenix. It says some U.S. spots are experiencing a glut of short-term rentals that can hurt hosts booking calendars. So what happened? He said, for a prime 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that Ken Worthy manages in Scottsdale, a suburb of Phoenix, he prepped for a wave of Super Bowl visitors. He initially thought he would fetch $1,200 a night with a 5-night minimum. He's cut the rate to $500 a night with a 2-night minimum, and it's not booked. And I've heard that story over and over again. Here's somebody that got 2 Airbnbs fully booked until March, regardless of Super Bowl. The booking rate keeps going higher every year. Well, yeah, there's some people that are managing through this pretty good. It all depends on the house, the style, the location, but there's a lot of them out there. What's interesting is I went to the Airbnb site here and I put in Scottsdale, and I don't think you're going to see a wholesale sale there, Cato. Hang on though. But I put in Super Bowl weekend and it still said there were over 1,000 of them. So now I just put in a search here for February 13th to 16th. And look at this. Was 377 night. Now it's 108. This one's down half price, 150, 183. Tried to get 336. Now it's 95. This one, 166 down to 114. A lot of deep discounting going on out there. So what's going on? Well, they kind of got hit with a double whammy. And what happened was, you know, we have a considerably high number of short-term rentals out there. Everybody got into the short-term business. And if you bought your home and 2019, it's pretty easy for you to get decent cash flow. Um, you got 66,000 people that come to the stadium for Super Bowl weekend, and they're not all going to get an Airbnb. But the problem was, not only did we have a glut of Airbnbs, but in 2015, people left their house for a week and rented it out and really made some serious bank. And everybody tried that this year. So you were looking at the Airbnb numbers, but then you had your regular homeowner that said, "Hey, let's rent our house out for the week." And evidently that number was a lot higher than we anticipated. And so people got a little bit of a glut going on. Now, when I surveyed you guys out there and said, are any of you short-term rental homeowners, what are you planning to do with it in 2023? It was pretty even across the board though, but 37% of you said you were going to put them up for sale. The other numbers were in the 30s. In other words, I'm going to keep it, or I'm going to make it a long-term rental. So 60% of the Airbnbs that are out there plan on making a change in 2023, according to the survey that I posted. So that'll be interesting. Well, one of the towns that's really seeing a glut is Sedona. They have over 1,000 Airbnbs. And I think I won't go through trying to pull that up now, but that's a lot for a town of that size. And some owners out there in Sedona have had to lower their prices. I don't have a big total on how many Airbnbs we have in our total market, but the impact would be significant if everybody decided to dump them. I don't see that happening. I don't see enough of them coming on to where it's going to have much of an impact. And it's kind of hard to tell. The only way you can tell is when you're looking at listings that come on and they say things like fully furnished. Furniture is negotiable. Then you know that it's a short-term rental that somebody's trying to unload. But it's kind of impossible to go through and count them all. You can look at county tax records, see what's going on. There is more regulation coming on them, but it's more on the city level that you have to get a license to run an Airbnb, and you have to pay a transaction tax. And if you get 3 complaints, noise complaints for parties, whatever, you're going to lose your license. So that's a good thing. I was at a house yesterday at this couple, and they said that there's about 3 houses on their block that are Airbnbs. And she said, you just see all these cars out in the parking lot. And she said, but for the most part, they've been quiet. Nobody's had any big parties. Rex says not much sympathy for Airbnbs that drove up prices 2021. Well, everything drove up prices in 2021. That was just one component. And what drove up prices was the fact that money was free. So if there weren't Airbnbs out there, prices still would have shot to the moon. If you're not staying booked, but all these are losing their butts, not you if you're staying booked. It used to be, and I think the numbers are fairly true, if you've booked your place for 14 weeks, you've on average met your expenses for the year. Airbnbs, as a rule, get about 4 times the normal monthly rent. So if you were going to rent it out for, $1,500 a month, you're going to get $1,500 a week as an Airbnb. Jason here says 3 of my friends' Airbnb in Phoenix got canceled for Super Bowl. Pretty shocking. Did they cancel because their team didn't get in, you think, Jason? And did everybody's team win yesterday? Now, there was also the Phoenix Open here. So they said that we get about 1 million visitors this past week to Phoenix. So it was pretty easy to be optimistic about booking your Airbnb. And but I don't know where this guy was staying. He decided to go for a run and streak, although they say streak, but he was wearing a Speedo, and they call him the mullet man, the mullet streaker. And he went running deep into, this is the wrong one here. I'm going to refresh this so you can actually see him getting chased. There he is there. And he does a belly flop. Now, that water in golf courses is not something that you would want to swallow. I hope he had his mouth closed when he dove in there. And the people that I was at a little luncheon there yesterday in Scottsdale. One of their friends is one of the security guards out Waste Management Open, and he said he almost caught him. He's the guy in the video that was chasing him. So I don't know where he booked his lodging, but he probably has lodging and a free meal today, though. So, but Jason, yeah, find out from your friends. Did they book for somebody that wasn't from Philadelphia or wasn't from Kansas? Because I could see where they would cancel. But I tried looking up the numbers and trying to track it over the week, and I just couldn't come to any conclusions. Like I say, I was a bit stunned when I punched in Scottsdale and said, "Well, how many are there?" And it said over 1,000. I thought that can't be right, but alas, it was. So we are going to continue to track these numbers. I will be on tomorrow. I don't know what time the CPI report comes out, but it's going to be after I'm on. So we'll see what happens, and we'll watch and see what goes on with the interest rates, my friends. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining me. Have a great Monday. Take on the rest of the day.